The world's eyes have been fixated on Russia since the Olympics and Putin's invasion of Crimea. But there is another fight for freedom against his policies that lies within his own country. Ever since Putin signed a bill last summer banning pro-gay rights propaganda, as he called it, hate crimes and violence towards Russian gays have spiked across the country. The freedom to love who you love has turned into a daily fight for survival. In a new book called Gay Propaganda, Russian Love Stories tells these incredible stories of the daily lives of Russians who are persecuted in their own country just for being gay. So with us is the co-editor of the book, Joseph Hofhannon, and also with us is Tatiana Ermakova, whose story is highlighted in the book. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So Tatiana, let me start with you. You eventually had to leave Russia to be with Anna, the person who you love, and you say it was hard leaving Russia behind. I had a career in Russia, a nice apartment, friends, family. I sacrificed all of that to be with Anna. I didn't have a choice, though. Even if Anna could come to live with me in Russia, we would never be able to be open there. Life in the U.S. might not always be easy, but at least there I never had a fear of being humiliated and punished for being a lesbian. So, Tatiana, what would life be like for you and Anna if you had stayed in Russia?
I don't think we will have much of a life. We would have to pretend to be roommates or friends or just strangers. And the only way we could be together is to go to a country that respects human rights, respects the rights of all the people. And we chose New York because I think this is the best place on earth.
Joseph, one of the things you're doing with this book is getting the story out. And one thing that I found quite fascinating is that in Russia, if you're part of the media and you're a neutral arbiter, you don't take sides in this debate, but if you just in fact report on it, you're at risk for being fined and possibly threatened, and violence could come against you. How can this story go out? How can this even be talked about in Russia when those in the media can get in trouble for even reporting it?
Right. I mean, I think that's the essence of the story, is that anybody who writes about LGBT life, who covers it, who blogs about it, is considered a propagandist, and you're violating this ban. So this book was a very tongue-in-cheek attempt to deliberately violate the ban, put these stories out there that are universal stories and that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Tatiana, your story here is so moving and I think really courageous and will speak to a lot of people. And you talk about how hard it was growing up in Russia and realizing that you were gay. What is actually more difficult right now in Russia, the social stigma around being gay or the actual government discrimination?
I think both are pretty bad, but you have to deal with social stigma every day. And this is the hardest part for me, at least. And also the threat of violence that can go after you every day. And you're afraid that if I say something wrong, if I do something wrong, there might be consequences for me just for being gay.
Joseph, in the foreword written by the great Garry Kasparov, he says that Putin considers gays enemies of the state. He says that the brain drain and the disappearance of the educated creative class are not seen as a problem for the pipeline economy Putin has created. Why is it? What is the value to Putin in demonizing gay people?
Well, I think it's a convenient foil. It's a group of people that don't have a lot of representation in the media already, so you know, lacking any other stories about them when Putin or members of the state media in Russia, you know, says gays are part of an evil Western conspiracy to sap our national strength and diminish our reproductive capacity. People believe it. There's not a lot of alternatives out there. And so as part of a larger political project to, you know, tamp down on free expression and on civil society, it's just been a very successful strategy.
Yeah, and Joseph, Tatiana's story, I think for many people here makes us realize how lucky we are in the United States to love whoever we love. We obviously have a ways to go, but Joseph, you talked to so many people, Tatiana being one of them. I'm sure all stories are very similar, but what was the one that you walked away with that you were shocked by?
I think the one that maybe I wasn't as shocked by, but it surprised me to the level that how much the government is actually in a very targeted way using these laws to, you know, not only sort of drive the community back in the closet, but actually for political purposes. One of the gentlemen that I interviewed, he's now in Washington, D.C. with his husband. They're applying for asylum. And the Russian secret police attack them, basically threatened that they were going to reveal their marriage and, you know, potentially throw them in jail unless one of them didn't agree to essentially spy for the government in an embassy, which I'm not going to say which embassy, but I think so that degree to which the government is using this law as a real tool in its sort of arsenal of controlling civil society, and so that was the most shocking.
Wow. Well, and Tatiana, you talk in your story about the struggle you had getting your parents and your family to accept you for who you are and for loving the woman that you love. But gradually your family has come around and your parents are very accepting and involved in your life now. Are you hopeful that through stories like yours, through people in Russia realizing that they have friends, neighbors, loved ones who are gay, that we will gradually see greater acceptance within Russian culture?
I think it's going to take a really long time in Russia for people to be accepting and not homophobic. And we have to do something little by little. Maybe at least gay people in Russia will hear my story and the stories of others that are in the book, and that will give them hope, and that will give them the message that they can still go on and they can find love of their lives, and they can be happy if they just change their life around. And there is always hope.
Tatiana, thank you so much for telling your story. And Joseph, thank you so much. And up next, the book that changes everything. Everything. Well, for some of us anyway.